Yeah.
Got Tom. Yeah. Oh, Tom's here. Okay, good. Yeah. Well, he's connecting it.
People are fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
Everybody that I'm here, we can have local coming in, Tom, well, we can. Both of them over. Okay. You know, I think we'll be
Ready?
Yep.
All right, welcome everyone and thank you. So we'll just start with welcome and introductions. Everyone's here. Yes, hello. Thank you for joining. We have a couple of members, Tom and Pamela, that are remote, and so we'll be getting to that shortly, but just to kind of go down the list to keep this as efficient as possible. The committee approval to allow individuals to vote remotely. Can I get a motion to vote on that?
So moved.
Summoned, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do we get a second?
No, we do not. Second.
Second, okay. All opposed? All right, so I think we're good. Then we're going to go ahead and do the agenda review. The board members request to disclose any conflicts of interest with the agenda items and or any business relationships with the board. I think we've gone through that. And we do have to vote on D, which is the approval of the capital facility minutes of April 4th, 2024. So I need a motion for that.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. And we will go from there.
Roll call.
We need to do a roll call.
You want to
You want to do a roll call?
Yes.
I got Mr. Do I do Tom Hermanson?
Here.
Thank you. Miss Jackie Barker.
Here.
I got Mr. Fred Poppy is absent. Mr. Hunter Gaylord,
Here.
Mr. Jeff Robinson.
Here.
Thank you. Miss Elizabeth Snyder,
Here.
Miss Pam Rothenberg,
Here.
Miss Candace Rogers,
Present.
and Mr. Doug Lebo.
Here.
You can introduce.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. All right, so today we're gonna be listening to a couple of the presentations. So the capital facilities grant application presentation, the first we're gonna be hearing from is the Lighthouse Cottage Capital Project. Ron Ecker, president of Cape Canaveral Lighthouse Foundation. Do we have them present here? All right, so we'll go ahead and hear from you. Thanks for joining us.
Do we have a mic for him? He's good. Yep.
Good afternoon. My name is Ron Ecker, I'm president of Cape Canaveral Lighthouse Foundation. We have an opportunity to restore one of the oldest tourist attractions in the Florida County. The current lighthouse was built in 1868 down by the ocean. We have newspaper articles from 1883 where people made trips up the Banana River, docked, walked 5 miles from Banana River over to the ocean to see the lighthouse. Spend the night, really enjoyed themselves. So it was a tourist attraction. We've got, like I said, the lighthouse was built in 1868. 1893, due to concerns about erosion, they moved the lighthouse to its current location on Mount Shore. From 1894 until 1966, there were 5 cottages surrounding the lighthouse. Head lighthouse keeper, first assistant, second assistant, and 2 storage sheds. One of the storage sheds was used as a school for a while. For the children of the keepers, and also for anybody who lives on the Cape. When it was done away with, and I got this from talking to the senator one time, it took them 3 hours to get to school in Cocoa in the morning, and 3 hours in the evening to get home. So they enjoyed school at the lighthouse. In 1966, all the lighthouse was automated. There was no need for the cottages. They weren't being used whatsoever, so they were burnt down. Either to give training to the Air Force or because of for both. In 2022 and 2002, Okinawa Lighthouse Foundation was formed to assist the lighthouse, to assist the Air Force in promoting the lighthouse. And our mission is to promote and train and teach about the public about the lighthouse. You'd be surprised how many people do not realize we have a lighthouse. Even living in Merritt Island for a long time. South of Bart, no, they don't know anything about the lighthouse.
Thank you.
This grant request is denied.
Time's up.
We have broken this, our goal was to restore the footprint of the life station by rebuilding the cottages. In 2018, we came before this board. We requested money and was given $500,000 phase one. We built a Head Lighthouse Keepers cottage, which we turned into a museum, into our store. We also built one of the storage facilities that we converted into the restrooms, which the ladies really like. Okay, this time we're coming back to phase two, where we're going to rebuild the first assistant keeper's cottage and second assistant keeper's cottage. Now I can tell you what's going to go into those, but I better get to the expert, my museum director, and let her tell you.
So just to give you a little bit of our vision of what this is going to be. Okay. So the first assistant lighthouse keeper's cottage is the same as the head lighthouse keeper's cottage, which is out there now, only it's on the opposite side of the lighthouse. So when a visitor comes in, what we see is they're going to take a step back in time, and they'll be able to see how the keepers and their families lived back in the day, back in the 1800s, early 1900s. So we get a feel what it was like back in that time period. Now, I can take yourself back to the 1880s. 1980 or 1880, the census said there were less than 1,500 people living in Clark County. So if you know how remote it must have been now. So, and then upstairs, we're going to use that as an extension of our museum to be able to do things we can't do now with the limited space we have. For example, the information that we have about the Native American PIDs that lived for millennia out on the Cape, we'll be able to talk about them and tell their story. And they left around the 1730s before the first settlers came. Then the first settlers came around the mid 1840s, and their story from then until 1950s in the space program evicted everybody. Those stories are lost too. So we'll be able to tell our children and visitors all about the history there. Then in the second assistant lighthouse keeper's cottage, it's much smaller. It's a one-story building. It'll be right behind the lighthouse, and they're all in the same footprints that they were when they were burned down. That's going to be, even though it looks like the outside will look like it did back in the day. When you go inside, you have an interactive, immersive experience where they can learn a lot more about the lighthouse. You know, for example, what we're doing is we're going to have a 360 surround view of what it looks like from the top of the lighthouse, because the public can't climb up there anymore. And this is a fantastic view if you think about it. It's like an 11-story building. You can see all the launch pads, you can see the Cape, you can see the port, you can see down in Cocoa Beach. It's just gorgeous up there, but people just can't see. So this way they'll be able to experience it. We're also going to be putting in interactive models where you can see how the lighthouse is constructed. It's almost like a numbered Lego puzzle, where you take it apart and you put it back together again by matching the numbers together. And that's how it was built in 1868, and that's how it was moved in 1894. So they'll be able to see that. And then, another thing we're very hopeful for, is proud of, is that the Space Force, archaeologist has dozens of wonderful artifacts that are thousands of years old, that have been sitting in drawers for decades, and nobody has seen. And they hope to be able to do a rotating display for us, so we'll have Native American artifacts out there, we'll have 1,000-year-old shark jaws, all kinds of wonderful things that nobody's been able to see before. So that's our vision, and we're hoping you're on board with helping us make that a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are ready when we get the money. We've got, phase one approval already has been given for phase two. Our architectural drawings, they were 100% phase one. But we have to update them for the past 4 years, any code change. Once that's done, we put out RFP for bid. We expect to have the bids back by December. We can start construction in January 25. Take approximately 9 months. In September 25 will be complete. Then we go about furnishing furnishing the cottages. We hope to open up in December 25. Then December and January 26, we start seeing an impact on their economy. We also have key people from phase one of the agreed to work in phase two. Okay, project cost is about, we've got push mark for 18.6 for updated drawings. And then we've got a quote from the construction, the company that did the construction in phase one. It was quote for $960,000 for both cottages and all the site. The total cost would be $978,708 for everything. Haven Lighthouse has $203,000 for matching funds. Take this way, all we're asking PDC for is $775,000 to complete this whole structure. Now, you might ask why we only have $200,000 matching funds. The lighthouse is owned by the Space Force. Their opinion, just like the Air Force before them, is that they own it, therefore the public owns it. We can't charge the public to visit something that they own. So we're not allowed to charge any money for people coming into the visit the lighthouse. But we're able to put aside about $50,000 a year through donation, sponsorship, membership, member fees, and so forth, for maintaining the cottages. We had an economical impact study done this year by Downs and St. Clement at Tallahassee. They set the 2023 is set up the base year. We had a little bit over 18,000 visitors, and a little bit more than half of them were from out of county. They had 9,050 room nights each day. And they spent a little bit over $3 million. Projecting that out to 2026, it projects to be about 11,500 room nights, and about $3,381,000 that they'll spend. The lighthouse helps out the community, and the community supports us. We have Descendants Day. When the Air Force removed all the people from the Cape and at the base, there were 5 graveyards. They told the people they could come back once a year to visit their ancestors, grave sites. So we support the Space Force in doing that every year. We bring them back. They bring whisk points, they bring scissors, to trim up around the graveyards, even though they're well maintained by the Space Force. We have free tours out there. If you have a group of 10 people you want to tour, go to our website, sign up. We'll caravan you out there to the lighthouse, free. We also started about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, having fourth grade children, students come to the lighthouse instead of going to St. Augustine. Prior to the pandemic, we had 8 schools involved. Pandemic knocked that rate down. We started to climb back up. This year, so far, we've had 18 tours since January. Not only school tours, but also homeschool kids. And over 800 visitors on just the education tours. We go to different functions in the community to promote the lighthouse. We have a speakers bureau where we go out and talk to different groups promoting the lighthouse, trying to get the knowledge about it. We have 150 volunteers, over 500 members. Over half the volunteers are members. So we're an active group. We have, if we need a working party, we can call the Coast Guard and send people out to help us. We supported Boy Scouts. We just completed an Eagle Scout program. Eagle Scout. Eagle Scout. Project was completed in January and February this year. We've got two more that are working to get them done. Okay, why do we need this? One, like I said, Lighthouse is maybe the oldest tourist attraction in Brevard County. We need to do that. Also, there's a big push to make Cape Canaveral and the port a tourist attraction. They're building an aquarium on. Space Force is going to Space Force experience. Our lighthouse fits right in with both of those to get people out there. Also, we've been working with the school board, try to get more students to come out. Right now, they're sending most of the students up to St. Augustine. Cost extra money, a lot of extra time. They can run the bus normal hours right out to the lighthouse. Okay. Like I said, we are ready when we get the money. Buildings we can have completed by December 25. Positive economic impact starting January 26th. We're ready to host more students out. We can give them more of a bar gift than St. Augustine. Hey, do you have any questions?
What are your current and your foreseeable hours of operation?
What's that question again?
What are your current and your foreseeable hours of operation?
Right at the present moment, we operate on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. Okay, we went out and with approval of the Space Force, we went out and hired we have 2 companies that run tours out of the lighthouse, Canaveral Tours, and the other one,
Space Shuttle Excursions.
Space Shuttle Excursion, which is new. They run tours on Tuesday. We have an open house on Wednesday. We run tours on Thursday and Saturday. We also have caravan. It's not open per se any hours. We run by tours. And we can see it increasing once the new group is formed. Hopefully they keep with the same hours. We can handle.
So for members of the public, just to go, we would need to go to the website and make a request to visit, or does Jane and John, two public, have
There are
to
two
sign up
choices.
with those two companies?
One, they contact either of the two companies. But that's gonna cost. Because they are not doing it free.
Right.
Okay? But if you have a group of 10 people, go to our website, sign up. We'll arrange a caravan. You drive your car, you have escorts out there. Go that way.
The answer is yes.
I'm Rocky Johnson. Hi. So, just to build, that's really the heart, that's the heart and soul of why we're asking for this. When we came to you, for phase one, we actually were ready to do all 4 of these buildings at the time. And you all invested $500,000 into the Cape Canaveral Lighthouse Foundation program that we're building here. And the state of Florida invested $250,000. So we took that and we did half of the buildings, but all of the site and civil infrastructure. So the retention pond, the stormwater management, sanitary, all those things were put into place. When we stood here and asked you for that money, we were having maybe one tour a week, something like that. And we were dying. We really needed to build a program to have the museum cottage and have something that had some meat. And we have taken off by leaps and bounds. We have, like Ron said, 150, volunteers. We have regular tours. We'll have tours. We're able to have tours 7 days a week. And we open the museum whenever there's a tour or open house. We have enough volunteers to cover it 7 days a week. The beautiful thing about what we do is that it does enable anyone access, either through caravan, signing up through one of the tours, contact us. We have placards. We have seen the participation in tourism at this facility multiplied by geometric proportion. And that was verified by our third-party consultant in terms of the verification of the tourism impact and the economic impact to the county. This is the heart and soul of the Space Center. This is why the Space Center is here. We had people standing on the lighthouse watching the first rockets go up. So this is the heart and soul of who we are. And it's not just the education, it's the tourism that we want to build on. And these other 2 cottages actually complete the vision that you all helped us get started when we built the first one. And I love this because these 2 cottages are here on the left. These are superimposed to show you what it will look like with the other 2 cottages in there. So to answer your question, yes, it's wide open for access, and we can allow that 7 days a week. We can accommodate, and I have no doubt that we will. All the feedback we get from the questionnaires keep coming back that, wow, we love it. There are a lot of people out there who love lighthouses, and there are a lot of people out there who love aerospace. And this is the combination of the 2, and it shows a juncture in mankind's history for navigation for the seas, navigation for space, and it's just who we are in Brevard County. And we want to provide that to more and more and more people. And our data shows that by completing phase 2, it will again increase by geometric proportion for visitors.
Thank you. So just to expound on that, when you say group of 10 and you would arrange a caravan, so how does that work for the caravan? Would the people have to drive to that kind of parking area where the Sands Museum currently is, or?
They drive up to Sands parking.
Okay.
And we have people there to check them in. Because they still have to be cleared by security.
Okay.
So we need the information about a week before. They're cleared, then we'll have an escort in front. Your cars will follow the escort through the gate. We'll have an escort in the back, so make sure we stay in line. Go out to the lighthouse. Sometimes they go to LC 26. They have Hangar C, which has got a lot of old rockets in there. To visit that, that's right beside the lighthouse. And then when they're finished, we escort them all to base.
So people would go in their individual cars as opposed to needing to go in one
Individual
vehicle?
cars.
Okay,
And as many people as can get into a car. You got a van for 8 people. Hey, It's one vehicle.
Great,
And all the caravan tours are free.
all right, great. And then would that also allow visits to the LC 26 and the Hangar C, or would that be an independent?
I see it right beside the White House.
Okay, so that would be able to be arranged?
Yes.
That was one of the things that, I'm sorry, that was one of the things that we did with Jamie Draper and the Sands, the folks at Sands and Ray Sands also, when we came to you before, and having that interaction, the juxtaposition, the symbiotic relationship between the Sands history, then the Air Force Base and Missile Museum Foundation, and they needed a longer name. But to show again that juxtaposition and the ability for us to work together for those tours really is fantastic. And to see the people come from overseas, from other parts of the state of Florida, from other states in the United States, and understand who we are and what our history is, and what a critical role Brevard County played in the development of mankind in outer space from right here. It's really exciting. So the majority of people, I would sign up online through the organized tours, but we do a lot of both, the school tours and the education program, the caravans, the open houses, all wonderful things in the museum, and these other cottages will be open whenever the tours are run.
Let me just add also in that through Jamie's organization and the rest of the Space Force and NASA and all other types of things, we also host large groups of visitors that they bring in from all around the country to visit the area. And they say, can we go to the White House too? Sure, bring them over. So we support thousands of people each year in that kind of thing.
Perfect. And then one final question, how do the open houses work? You said that's on Wednesdays? So,
Anybody who has a badge, to get on the space station, can come visit that house. And you need a special badge to get onto the station.
and how does one procure that?
You have to work. them.
Yeah.
That's Patrick or Pimpin or Kennedy Space.
You just can't be retired military is where he was going with, it's a special badge. It just a retirement badge doesn't like it.
But I think the focus that what we're trying to convey is that by expanding this program, we went from essentially maybe a tour a week, which was hit or miss, to regular tours. I would say we're running close to 10 tours a week and flooded with visitors on our open houses. And then those people want to bring their family for tours, and then the word spreads, and you can see from social media that you all helping plant that seed and get us started, increased us, and I mean, geometric proportion is an understatement. We went from, barely hanging on with 10 docent volunteers out there to we're flooded with visitors now. And this expansion, the realization of the last two cottages and being able to have that interactive cottage and the replica cottage will just increase us by geometric proportion that much more. It's really completing what we had before, permitted, designed, and we're shovel ready. And to expand that program and offer the complete package that you all helped us start a few years ago, that's what we really want to do. That's our dream.
Great, thank you.
So I heard some limitation of your revenue potential. And then I heard the way that you currently garner revenue is through donations, and it sounds like membership
And fundraising.
and fundraising.
We have
And
fundraising.
are there any others do you have a gift shop
We
on
have a gift
premise?
shop, and we have commemorative bricks out there. We sell the bricks too.
Yep. And then the third parties who are offering the tours, do they donate to the foundation for each tour, or how does that work?
No, we're not allowed to accept donations that are tagged to an individual visitor
Okay,
because it looks just like pass through. So
Got
they
it.
will support us in other ways. They'll become a sponsor or they'll help us in certain events.
that makes sense. Thank you.
So, well, I'll just say first, congratulations on executing the first phase, because there's nothing easy about doing that, especially on, Space Force property. I work out there, so it's a challenge.
Like,
So congratulations on executing that. So, so you have experience with the program and the process. So it's a reimbursement grant, right? So you have to have all the money up front. That's always a challenge when, you know, you're going to execute something. So what's kind of the finance plan for executing this, knowing you wouldn't get the money until afterwards, you know, the reimbursement? I mean, is there a credit line? Is there some, how do you kind of execute that?
That's what we were hoping our matching funds. We cover the cost, get reimbursed. Run that way until at the end we can use the wire,
Okay, with what funds? I'm sorry.
the matching funds we have. $203,000.
Okay, but
So what we did, that was our vision. What we did last time was we had the $250,000 state grant. We had, I think at that time, we had $100,000 of our own money that we had raised, and we had the $500,000 grant from this organization. And for reimburse, it was not our vision, and I'll have to defer to Becky. What we did last time was we paid, so we hired the contractor, we pay the contractor, and once we pay the contractor, we get reimbursed that amount of money. And then they bill on a monthly basis, so as you know, we keep doing that until we're complete. If it's 100%, and I apologize, I'm not familiar, I don't know that. If on this round it's 100%, we have to spend the entire $770,000. That would mean we would have to get
No, you don't have to do that, no.
but if it's, we pay, you know, their pay application because it's their,
It's reimbursement as you go.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we pay them, we get reimbursed. We pay them and they don't bill again for a month, and that's what we did last time.
Yeah.
We had the state grant, and the TDC grant, so
Yeah.
our vision is to just do exactly the same thing we did last time, and it worked very, very well. We provide all the data that, you know, that's required for the pay application, all the hard backup, you know, inspection information, documentation, et cetera. And, we've got, a lot of our people also work out at the Space Center, myself included. So we're painfully aware of, bureaucracy and how important it is that, every I is dotted and every T is crossed several times.
okay, so they can request incremental
Yeah.
payments
Yeah.
along the way,
Yeah.
type thing,
Yeah.
kind of do it that way. Okay,
Yeah,
and the
basically,
process works
Construction draws.
pretty quickly, okay. And then I assume the title of the building has actually become government property, is that right?
No,
How does that
No.
work?
no, we have, we own the buildings, we insure the buildings. We have a lease from the, Space Force for the land, and but we own the buildings. But we don't own the lighthouse. They own the lighthouse and the
Right.
buildings, but we own all the other buildings.
Right, they do maintenance on the White House and the Full House. We do maintenance on the cottages.
Okay,
And once we receive the proper reimbursement package from the grantee, if they were awarded, we usually turn around the payment fairly quickly,
Okay.
you know, within a few weeks.
Yeah, it worked flawlessly last time. It was, not a problem at all. We understood the requirements for, the pay applications and the documentation required. We submit that, and I think it was usually less than 2 weeks that, you know, it would be turned around. So it worked very, very well.
good, thanks.
Just a quick question. On phase one, since I was not on the committee at that time, how close were you to the timeline that you had brought forward to the committee as far as delivering the head keeper's cottage?
I think we prepared it, but
If you can tell Rocky, we ran the first phase, so that's why you're here.
So we were actually ahead, we were ahead of schedule, on that. We completed, ahead of time. The only difference was that and I wouldn't say it was a difference, the grant, and similar to this time, and Becky referenced to it, that was the building and the finishes inside, the buildings and the finishes. Then we still had to get the artifacts, and the displays, and that's where Becky came in, and she also did the Veterans, Center over there, so we used her expertise, so from the ribbon cutting to open the building, and then to get it, I want to say that was a couple months. So to get the displays set up, because we didn't come to you all for any money for the displays and that sort of thing, because we had a lot of the artifacts, et cetera, that we put in there. So time wise, then, just like now, we were shovel ready, permitted, ready to go, stormwater permit, St. John's Water Management permit, volunteer project managers. We've already had competitive bids for the project, so we are ready to rock and roll. As soon as we have the check, we start the building.
Thank you.
I just want to open it up for anyone that's online. Do they have any questions?
Yeah, this is Tom Hermanson. I've got a quick question. Have you made application to the state again for any additional grant funding? Or
We had
Tom, you were muted and not unmuted. You want to
sorry,
repeat?
there you go. Let me repeat that. I was wondering if there were any other new applications to the state of Florida for any additional grant funding, and if you
Went into-
explored any other grant funding from Air Force related charitable entities.
Okay, we went to the state, Debbie Mayfield sponsored a bill for $650,000. $650,000, yes. And the bill made it all the way to the governor's desk. Then line item vetoed on this agriculture type grants. So we learned about that come May. No, come June. It's June. That's when we started working on this grant.
We also have other grants that we get from the Florida Lighthouse Association. We have advertising grant, we have from PDC. So, and we pursue grants all the time, and we get many smaller grants. And we have a solid group of supporters that also, obviously provide funding, which is why we have a couple $100,000 already after, only a couple of years. So, but yeah, we pursue grants, Tom, regularly, and we were really hopeful because it made it through the budget. We had support from Tyler Soroy, we have support from Tom Goodson, we had support from Senator Mayfield, and made it all the way to the governor's desk and line item vetoed, as many others were as well. But yeah, we do a lot through grants, and we're not we rely on grants heavily, so we're familiar with how they work, and we utilize them heavily.
This is
Tom,
Pam
another question?
Rothenberg. Can I go ahead or?
Go ahead.
I'm just curious about what your backup plan is for fundraising if we maybe only approve a portion of what you're requesting.
Good question.
If a portion is approved, we're able to build one of the cottages, go ahead and build that cottage. And then wait until we get more money to build the second cottage. And we could do one at a time.
And I would add that that's actually, you can see evidence that works, because that's exactly what we did last time. We had the entire site and all 4 cottages permitted, ready to build. We only got enough money to do 2 of the cottages and all of the infrastructure. So the site, stormwater management, all of those things are already in place. So if our plan B is if we only had got enough to do one of the 2, we would do one of the 2. And then we'd be back again and continue, as Tom mentioned, we continue to ask the state, et cetera, for money and pursue. It's a fantastic facility, and we ain't much giving up.
Anyone else have any other questions? Anyone online?
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on to the capital facility grant application presentation of Palm Shore Swimming Pool Capital Project. And that's Mike.
Yeah,
Mike here?
Mike Murdoch.
Oh, very good. All right, just for clarification, this is $3 million ask.
Yes.
Which is.
Okay.
All right.
All right, the floor is yours.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Not my forte, coach as well. So, I won't, people say, imagine everybody naked, I'll just do everybody in speedos. Yeah, so we're here. My name is Mike Murda, president of the Swim Melbourne Foundation. Started the company about 4 years ago. I'm a local. I grew up here, born in Melbourne. My dad was in the Air Force, married a Spaniard. Spain's in the final, by the way, of the Euro. Yes, nobody cares. But I've been back and forth. My mom was a teacher here. Started swimming in high school, swam at Satellite. Went on to college, swam in college at Florida Atlantic University, and then thought, hey, have some kids, get them swimming. And what I noticed was the swim facilities weren't really up to par compared to maybe South Florida, West Florida, they were like that. And I didn't really get it until my kids were growing. I have 4 kids, 14, 12, 10, and 8. My wife, she's a kids dentist in town. But what I looked at was I need to do something if, my passion is swimming and I want to do something with swimming. There are some swim teams, but my dream was to build a powerhouse swim team. That's what I did. So I wanted my kids to have that opportunity. And when I looked around at the opportunities with aquatic centers, wasn't really there. So I started a swim team. This is before the foundation. I started a swim team. I rented the Satellite High School. So you have to do, you got to rent. So we rented from the school board, a little tough, but it's worked out so far. And our team's grown. We're about 150 big. And what I realized is to actually have that powerhouse team that I was thinking, and I was only thinking swim team, competitive. You got to build around it. You got to build the whole farm system, like baseball. You got to build all the, T-ball, minor league, all the way, single A, double A, triple A, mid. So you got to do that whole thing. So what I realized was I need a master's team. Now that's like the alumni. That's like 18 and up swimmers. And you wouldn't even believe it. But right now we rent in the city of Melbourne and we have 150 members, just renting a couple hours a day, a little 6-lane pool that was built in 1960 something. We're swimming a bunch of little kids, built 1960 something, no improvements, nothing, still there. It works, which is great, but there's no room for growth. And I realized we're missing a couple things. We're missing swim lessons, but year-round swim lessons, not that just 1 month a year type thing, swim lessons. And then we also need to build some community programs because they exist, but very little. Not around. And then health and wellness, like water aerobics and that type of thing, physical therapy and stuff like that. So yeah, the farm system, but with the facilities that were prepared, it just wasn't cutting it. So I started the foundation mainly to build this aquatic center, and through donations, we've gotten a certain distance. I'm also not a fundraiser. I could talk, I could have fun with people. I'm very passionate about what I love, but I'm not a fundraiser. And, for a small project like this, we'd have to look at many different avenues. And, the market hasn't really been quite on everybody's side, when it comes to, that type of thing. So anyways, that's how Swim Melbourne Foundation came to be. So, 4 years ago, we started, and we're here working to promote a safe and active swimming lifestyle for Brevard County children by expanding opportunities in the sport of swimming. In this case, the aquatic center. Why do we need this aquatic center? I've already talked about it. There's this rule of thumb. I've been trying to find it recently. Google's gotten a little funny on its searches, but there used to be this rule of thumb that said 1 pool for 20,000 people. It was a thing. All the pool contractors had it. Now, I haven't been able to find it. However, I will tell you that 1 in 100,000. There's all these articles that 1 in 100,000 people is not enough pools for a community. And they say that's like the lowest of all lows. It's in New York. There's another one in Texas. We're sort of like in the 1 in 50,000 when it comes to, public facility, sort of for the larger community, not like a development has its own little pool, but that. So we're on the low end. There's another reason, an underserved population. Nobody's really planning on building anything anytime soon. So that's another reason we need it. And when we talk about swim lessons, which, you know, since I started this powerhouse idea, right? It's come to mind that, you know, last year we didn't have like the best scenario on the beaches with, you know, with drowning, stuff like that. And since COVID, there's an increase in drowning, which is a strange trend to have after COVID, to be going down as it has been for the last 20 years. So another reason is to provide reliable facility to be able to run these programs. And right now with the renting from the school board and renting from the cities, Parks and Rec sometimes doesn't really, you know, they're more stagnant than somebody like myself or like my program that really wants to get things out there. Again, build a new swim culture. I've been a part of, I grew up in South Florida with, you know, through college, been part of different swim teams. And what they do there is it's part of like the culture. It's when you have kids, you throw them through the 0 to 6 year old swim lessons, and then yeah, you play basketball and baseball and dance and band and all that, but you still go through the swim lessons. Everybody knows how to swim, and that's one of the things that I think is missing here in Brevard. It's a strong swim culture, and then also you know, finally bringing swim tourism to Brevard. A lot of times, this is also what generates that swim culture growth. It's like, hey, swim teams over in Brevard. Yeah, so main reasons why we need to build an aquatic center. Like I said, our vision, this is our vision, you know, when we started, we didn't know we were going to have this many swimmers with such a, you know, not so like a not so practical environment. We have 150 age group swimmers. Now that's from ages 6 to 18. There's some swim teams. We got it broken down by different levels, and then we have 150 master swimmers. That's actually the fastest growing master team in America. Does anybody want to know? Because you guys want to join? This guy right here, we need him. And then also, and this is only renting in like 2 hours a day in a 6-lane pool was built in the 1960s. Nobody's done anything here. North Florida built the pool. Orlando's got something new. Sebastian has like half the population that they have this beautiful facility, you know, right off the exit. And here, Brevard County, this is something that we could really jump on with all the extra Space Coast stuff going on. But if we did this, we'd be over quadrupling our members. It wouldn't be 150 swimmers, might be 200 swimmers, 200 masters, 250 master swimmers, adding swim lessons, water polo. And then we have all these other programs. I'll just touch on them a little bit here. But this is today. And then tomorrow, this is what, you know, and I just laid it out on a list. I mean, when you guys leave the application and all that, you'll have it all broken down beautifully. But really what we're building, and if you saw that picture earlier, there's a big pool and then there's a little pool. It's the competition pool and the teaching pool. And I'll talk about that in a second. I probably should put the slide afterwards, but that's all right. So in the competition pool, the age group swimming, those are swim team. And then we have master swimming. That's for the adults. Water polo doesn't exist in Brevard County. That would be something that we'd be adding. It's not a huge program, but it's just something to generate interest. Also, we have groups. So it's not just the Swim Melbourne team. It's also, we're going to rent the facility out to other groups that need it. Lots of triathletes. They like to spend lots of money. Just crank the money. And, but they're willing to do stuff. Also, we've been in contact with the school board about, you know, busting in grade schools. Everyone swims by 3rd grade type idea. That was something that we used to run down in South Florida. And then also, I know a lot of people in the surf industry, what they like to do is when there's no waves, or they want to have a free day, especially during those camps in the summer when people fly in, a lot of times they'll just hop on over. We'll offer some pool hours that they could come in and do like a little hour session. We can help them out and stuff like that. So I'm friends with a bunch of all the schools, Ohana up there and, you know, Marcus over up there. And then also camps and clinics. This is something that really grows in the summertime. These camps, I don't know if you guys have put kids or grandkids through some of these camps, but camps and clinics are huge, especially in the Space Coast. They're coming here and it's really, yeah, they're going to come for swimming, but they're going to come here instead of, you know, maybe Tampa, because not just the swimming, but we have some other things like Disney and the beaches, the lighthouses, and lots of stuff here on the Space Coast. You kept the rocket launch at the same time. These are things that, and they're becoming more common, so it's really, you sometimes nail these trips now. Before it used to be the shuttle, and then it would like, oh, scrub, so camps and clinics are big. This college teams, a lot of people don't know about this. I swam in college, and if you guys have had any college friends that have swum, they have college training trips that are set up between right after exams, like right before Christmas, there's a 10-day period. And then after Christmas, there's a 10-day period before exam starts. And a lot of northern teams, 900 schools in America that have swim teams, 900, D1, D2, D3. They're looking for a place to just go on a training trip. These are popular. You bring all 50, 25 girls, 25 guys, and you just find a place. And usually what happens is they go to Fort Lauderdale, Miami, West Palm, they creep up. They want to go to like that water down there, but they're running out of space. So they're ending up going up in Tallahassee and even Georgia. They want to come to Florida. That's what they're trying to do. And it doesn't have to be like the big Ohio State. It could be Miami, Ohio, or like a little Christian college up there. They're going to bring 50 swimmers just the Space Coast to do that. And what's cool about that is it's not just they're bringing tourist dollars here and that kind of thing. They're also bringing their college here. So all the schools that are in town, we have a swim team. They start seeing our swimmers, and there ends up being like this little relationship that's built with colleges. And we talk about that swim culture. Hey, that Brevard County, so now we're back on the map. And then also lifeguarding. We want to offer recertification courses. We're all certified to certify lifeguards. It's 3 of us right now that run the swim team. I'll talk about them later. But really all it is 4 or 5 times a year, run some recertification courses. It's something a lot of people right in the springtime, you got a lot of high schoolers that need it. It's something a lot of people, when you run out of time, you got to go find it because there's only one more course left. We've had people that have to go up to Jacksonville, and guess what they do? They stay the night, right? They either go with friends or they go with parents or whatever. The Space Coast, it could be an easy excuse to come down to the Space Coast and go get your lifeguard certification. And then open swim membership. Even though we're having all these programs, we obviously have to offer open swim. This obviously isn't for the Tourism Development Office, but open swim will keep the revenue flowing day in and day out. You offer certain hours. And what's special about the open swim is I'm gonna hop up. All right, I'll hop back in a second, but we got swim lessons. This is what I talked about. This is just lingo, level 1, level 2, level 3. It's anybody under the age of 6. We offer group lessons and private lessons. That's the big cash cow. That's the one that's gonna keep the doors open. It really generates the revenue for the pool. USMS lessons, that's lessons for adults. I didn't even know about this till my partner talked about it, and it's huge. We have 25 people that have gone through our lessons program for adults. It's double the cost of what the kids pay. It's a great program. It's huge. And then physical therapy, water aerobics, PT. We've sort of partnered with a local group. And then also with local PT folks that are largely into the swimming world, that they would use the facility every day, send their patients over. A large health organization locally would send their patients over, and we could use the facility as well. They're loaded at the other pools in the area. But the other one I wanted to talk about was under groups. We got underprivileged. This is community events, mainly local, but something to think about. A lot of times, try to time these with conventions in Orlando. So you might get some tourism dollars there. But the main thing for the tourists are swim meets. We have 52 weeks a year, maybe really just 48 weeks a year, to run swim meets. Our teams go elsewhere too. So then it's not 48 weeks that you're going to run the swim meets. Let's just say 36. That's all detailed out on the application. But swim meets are big. You bring 300 swimmers to swim meet. 2/3 of them are from out of town. They stay for 2 nights. They stay Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And the way all the swim teams set it up now, since they're getting grant money from different places, is they set the most wanted events on Friday night. So the people have to stay Friday night, not just show up on Saturday morning. So that's one of the tricks. But yeah, we're gonna have swim meets for the kids, swim meets for adults. They got all these things. They got a thing called grown-up swimming. I know it sounds sort of corny, but it's just a new masters group that's gotten together, and they're really selling the happy hour. So it's a one night definite happy hour. I know it sounds funny, but that's what they do. And it's on Friday night, the swim meet. It's already planned for August 17th, August 14 days later, 14. There's a series of 4 happening here. We have a team from Jacksonville coming, team from Tampa, team from Atlanta. So it's a thing that's happening, and they're gonna be spending money here. And then this Sizzlers in grade school, that's mainly local stuff for the kids around here, but it keeps generating that interest. And then water polo tournaments. I'm not a water polo player, but we got 3 people on the team that are water polo parents, coached in college. They're super excited to be able to run this. It doesn't exist in Central Florida, not Brevard, Central Florida, not big. And then I talked earlier about lifeguarding and open swim with the ocean rescue. We've been in contact, we've had meetings, and it's very exciting. They would love to use the facility, for training for free, come swim during open swim. And then on top of that, on some weekends, maybe once a month or maybe once a quarter, have little seminars where you invite, you have like a recertification deal, convention where people come from out of town, an ocean rescue convention. And then from there, that's the feeder program to the lifeguards, to the local lifeguards. And, and I know in the past, it's been one, I'm friends with all of them. They really want places to swim, more support, that type of thing. So we've been in contact. And then other special events, fundraisers, people love renting the water sport world. So here's the pool. You can see here, this is the competition pool, the teaching pool. This is where the viewing deck is. Run some yoga classes up there. We already have that planned out. And then there's some parking here. Showing you where it's at. I forgot to zoom in. So Pineta's up here, Galley's down here, and this is just north of Post Road. This marina right here is being built out. I think they're selling it again, but they made it look a little nice. And then the lots right here, the adjacent lot is also owned by the same LLC. So for overflow parking, the town of Palm Shores is excited about expanding. And so that'll potentially become part of the project as well. It isn't now, but it's there to be had. It's a $4.2 million project. We're looking to start. We were actually, I don't know if you guys, I'm not saying I'm newsworthy, but we were in the news. We had broken ground like March, and our major donor passed away. So that's what happened. It sort of came to a stop, but we're permit ready. And that's why I came to you guys as well. We're permit ready. It's a 7 to 9 month construction program. All the contractors and subs are on board. And it's shovel ready. Like, it would take about 30 days just to run it through the town of Palm Shores. Pat Berg, she's mentioned she can come today, but she was pretty excited about the project. Mayor McCormick was excited. So yeah, there you go. The breakdown, just high level breakdown. The competition pool is about 1.2. We thought about always, stretching it out, phase 1, phase 2. It doesn't really work in that environment, but at the time, phase 1, phase 2, or competition pool, teaching pool, pool equipment, and then you got the vertical construction and site work. This is how the breakdown is, in case you guys wanted to see it. We look here, permit, it's just a picture of the permit, group are ready to build. And probably a question that's going to come up is the land lease agreement. PBJS Murda LLC owns the land. My name is Mike Murda. It's an LLC that I've created. Mainly, nobody was doing anything. We were trying to do the whole project together with the land, and it wasn't happening. So I said, we'll go ahead and invest some money. we'll set up the land. So what we're doing is the LLC is leasing it to the Swim Melbourne Foundation. And then the foundation owns and will operate the aquatic center when it's built. That's the lease agreement. And then there was something else I had to say about that. I think it comes later. The pro forma, pretty boring, pretty small right now. And it's all gonna be submitted on the application. You guys have it in front of you. But you can see there's revenue sources up top. The expenses are below. And then right here, we worked with RevPar International, pretty stellar company. And they came back with some numbers, project attendees and stabilized years. Yeah, so it's broken down, just so you guys know. The program is Swim Melbourne, that is the age group and the masters teams, swim teams in general. The groups are any external groups renting from the facility that is not Swim Melbourne. Swim events. Those are anything from swim meets, fundraisers, ocean rescue, any type of revenue that comes from that. College teams, spoke about that. That's where the college training trips comes in. And then open swim memberships. Those are memberships just like at your local pool today. You buy a daily rate, weekly rate, monthly rate, yearly rate. And then swim lessons. You can see here number of swimmers total. And you guys could sift through that. A lot of attendees from out of town during the swim meets. We'll see here, projected at the, or yeah, this is where they got detailed, talking about hotel rooms and so forth. See the nights, any stabilized years up front, 2026, out 5 years. And yeah, so 3,000 rooms. Let's say when we project it out, 3,000 rooms a year. And then this is the estimated direct and indirect impact, economic impact over a 20-year period. Again, the direct impact is a little lower because the land lease agreement, the foundation leasing it from an LLC. So the property taxes will probably be exempt for that foundation. So that's why the direct impact is a little lower than you'd probably see when the property taxes are higher. But over a 20-year period, 9.2 million, the economic impact from, yep. Here it is, the grant ask, $3 million. The current funding, we have to date, we have close to $900,000 in donations and pledges. It's an ongoing effort. We do have some big donors ready to move forward. Like everybody's looking to see who's going to move forward first. I've been working it, my little fundraising, hat on, but that's pretty much what's happening. And then also what we did in the meantime, we went out to UCBI, the bank out in Viera, working with them, bridge financing. They were talking about how, something like this were awarded, pre-approved for $3.5 million today. And, that would be what would happen. If it's awarded or if somehow it needs to be switched around, I could always go back, answer some questions there, get things rolling a little quicker. But that's how the loan is set up right now to cover the 4.2. Yep. And letter of town support, Town of Palm Shores. And the management team, it's they both happen to have best friends out of town having weddings today. So they let me hang. But anyways, yeah, so I'm the general manager. I'd be the general manager. John Walsh, he'd be the aquatics director. BJ Graham, he'd be the pool coordinator. You'll also see him down here on the board. The idea is we're trying to cover, the interests of all the major parties that are at the pool. So I would be covering the interest of the swim lessons. John would be covering the interest of the swim team. BJ would be covering the interest of the masters team, in case anybody gets away with too much time at the pool. So that's the way it's split. And then there's two other gentlemen right here. Richard Kavanaugh, he's the chair of the Gold Coast Swimming, very well renowned coach. And then Mark Moeller, he's our he's our legal arm. He's up in North Florida today. He couldn't be here. I thought he would call in, but he never did. So, but he's a busy guy. But yeah, he's our legal counsel. That's the team. Thank you so much. And I did want to end it with one last thing, just to say I got my heart and soul into this. It's been like 4 years running, up, down, up, down. It looks like it's taken off, then it's down, then it's up. But I promise you, if anything like this were ever to happen in Brevard, now is the time to have it happen. And I think I'm the right guy to do it, to take it to the next level. And thank you so much.
Thank you. I will open up for any questions anyone may have.
I see that the pool is not covered, so of course I have to ask. You know, I don't think you'd have people out there when it's raining, and I think a lot of the other swimming facilities were covered. Is that going to be something that you may address later? And does that not take away some of the days or the weeks that you're talking about filling? I mean, how does that impact?
Yeah, well, you know, as soon as you enclose the pool with AC, the costs go up significantly. And we figured we'd stick to the open Florida idea. But on the teaching pool, you know what? I could probably jump around here to the teaching pool. One more. To the teaching pool right here, the idea is to have one of those sails. It's a shade, but one of the sails, you know, obviously we could always add it to the big pool. It wasn't the intent to the big pool. But over the teaching pool, the idea was to have it. And actually it was part of the request of another health organization that wanted to work with us. That was the need. So it is in the plans. We have a quote for it. It's not on the main quote. The idea is to keep going with the fundraising. That would be, you know, phase 2. It would be extend the deck, add a shade sail, and then but it would just be the little pool.
Okay, and what do you have for parking? I mean, how did you figure how many cars in as you grow, which look at you.
Yeah, no, so it's a 1.2 acre lot. A lot to the north is a 1.2 acre lot as well.
Okay.
You know, the idea there is to just have overage, not clear it out, but
It's a sand lot.
knock it down, make sure it's gravel, like a gravel parking lot until the funds are there to maybe expand the facility or do much more than that. There's been talk about building 3 beach volleyball courts. There's a beach volleyball group that wanted to do something. They don't have a lot of people. It'd be a great way to build the parking lot over there. That would be just an extension of this facility.
So as you expand, that would be the only available land that you could expand to, because it looks like you're surrounded.
Today, yes. There's another lot to the north of that. This guy from Canada has it, and we've been trying to get that meeting together because, you know, I'm interested, or I have investors that are interested that wanted to, you know, just sort of, you know, stretch it out a little more. But yeah, right now it's the same size lot, but to the north, it's a 1.2 acre lot.
Thank you.
Owned by that same LLC. Yes.
So the viewing area, how big is that building and how many people could sit in that viewing area?
Yeah,
If you're watching a meet, you know.
They're
if
watching
you're
a meet. No, that's
college
true.
teams.
Yeah. No, so watching the meet, you obviously can't put 100 people up there. It's a 40 by 25 little area. It's mainly for the local events. It's an easy place to go up, down. But right here, this is obviously just a rendering with beautiful palm trees down here. But the idea is the decking doesn't affect the retention area. So the idea is to bump this fence out, extend out the decking 20 feet, and just like similar to like River Rocks. That's what I've been told. So we have a quote on that, and that would be phase 2 of the construction project. But until that happens, you know, until it's on the way, a lot of the fundraisers have sort of held off until see some other people moving. So But yeah, that's, the idea is there would be a 20-foot additional space. And for swim meets, what some of these families do is they bring their chairs. It's not bleacher seating, it's not, this isn't the Olympic Stadium. This is you could run a 250 to 300 person swim meet at a pool like this. That's love to do the big one, but this is the baby step to that big one. If Brevard ever wants to maybe do something like that. But right now in colleges, they have 25 yard by 25. That's all they swim is 25 yards for a competition. There's no 50-meter competition in college. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask. What are the dimensions of the?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, so it's 25 yards by 25 meters. So yeah, 25 yards by 20. The way the lanes are going today, that's 25 yards. And the other way is 25 meters. So you could easily flip them. Now that's not an Olympic pool. An Olympic pool is a 50-meter pool. That would put you way over here. And there's been talks about maybe doing that on the north, building the pool in the north lot if fundraising becomes unbelievably, down the road. I mean, we have some heavy hitters on the team, but the idea there would be we would have to adjust the south lot if that were ever to happen. This is a 5-year plan. I mean, that'd be amazing if that ever happened.
And the size of the teaching pool?
The teaching pool is 60 feet by 20 feet. So in other words, it has 3 lanes. Three lanes available. That's how we run our swim lessons. We still run them with the lanes, so we would put the lanes in there, but yeah.
And then what are some of the memberships that you envision? Is it a monthly membership?
Yeah. You gotta compete with Brevard. I know Brevard's tough. I mean, anywhere else in the world you go, memberships are like. But we touched on some things. We want to be in the same competitive realm as like a gym. Between that $50 to $100 a month. That's the idea, and that's open swim membership. For the swim teams, they got their own generating. It's $100 for kids, $100 for swim lessons, $200 for private. It's the typical going rates that we've been using, and the entire proposal is set up on that. RevPAR International went out and interviewed I don't know how many pools, and so we sort of benchmarked with everybody else as well. So, but yeah, it's about $50 a month to $100 a month. I know it's a big range, but yeah. And the other thing is, you don't want to offer. You can't do a daily rate for like $5 because then it'd be easy to just do a $5. So the daily rate would be a little higher, and then creep up like that. So maybe like a yearly rate would be like $500. So.
I just want to open it up for anyone online. If you have any questions, anyone online have any questions for Mike? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? Okay, all right. So I'm gonna ask a couple of financial questions here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I appreciate the presentation. I like what you're trying to accomplish here. The grant request is for 3 million.
Yeah.
Right? And you have 900,000 donations and pledges already. I'd like to understand a little bit more, not on the financing aspects, but you say you have a lot of heavy hitters. I want to understand the difference between the foundation, the land, and the LLC, how this is working, because it sounds like a business, not a foundation. So if you have donors that are already donating to this that can pull the trigger, why wouldn't you just have them pull the trigger for the 3 million? Is it one of these, like, if the TDC gets involved and grants you a portion, it's like I'll match what they do? Is that kind of how your donor base? Understand the financial structure here.
Yeah, it seems like, and like I said, I'm new to fundraising. This is like been crazy. No, but it seems like that there are, when I say heavy hitters, seems like they want somebody else to push first.
So they want, essentially what you're saying is they want a lead investor.
They do.
Okay, so.
And I had that guy,
But he
it
passed away.
didn't work out. Yeah.
Okay, so understanding that you do have people that are saying, look, if someone's gonna step up to the plate, right, and be a lead investor, then that will allow for tag-along investments. They'll say, look, if you can get someone else to say, look, we believe in this, we like this concept, then we'll come in and we can do it, right? So, because I understand some of the economics, it's like this kind of like, if you build it, they'll come type concept here, right? Which is what you're going at. But from a tourism perspective, right? What amount of the cost, and we'll see it in the application from the financials, is actually going out to have more people come out of state into state for tourism, right? Not just necessarily local, but how are we getting more people in to specifically come here? Is it gonna be more focused on the colleges? Is it more focused on, hey, we actually have facilities? It's events.
It's events.
So it's gonna be event driven.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And is the 3 million over the period of time, is that you need it all up front? Is there a build phase? Kind of, if you saw the last presentation, there's phase down, right? So if they didn't get all they're asking for, but they just got enough to build one, right? Is there a development phase approach that you have, or is it, you have to build it all at once?
Well, yeah, we have to build it all at once. But when you talk about like,
Like milestones, essentially.
can't really do the project at milestones.
Okay,
Yeah, but the 3 million doesn't have to be, upfront. We have the financing also ready to go. But it would be, if it's not a $3 million at a one-time thing, it could be over 5 years. 3 years, 10 years, something like that.
So you had mentioned a health organization that's interested or has some requirements. Can you elaborate on that?
There's been some, there's been a good relationship and some close, I can't that much, but, there's been some agreements and some, some talks about how we can move forward with this partnership.
So, what comes to mind is the National Training Center in Claremont, which is a huge attraction, and Orlando Health has, a large stake in that.
Yeah,
From its inception.
Yeah, similar.
But it's a very large draw.
Right.
To, swimmers, triathloners.
Yeah.
Cyclists and runners.
Yeah.
Some of it is, their geography, but some of it is the training facility.
Triathletes especially.
But Orlando Health has played a key role there.
Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to parse through, and I think you were alluding to it a little bit, Hunter, is, just the capital stack. Cause I heard there's a loan secured or, approved, which that 3.5 with the 900 would exceed the budget.
Yes.
Proposed. And then there's a $3 million ask. And so trying to understand, the commitment, or what sounds to be a commitment, the ask and the current capital. I'm just trying to understand, how those intermingle with each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's, we have close to $1 million in donations. And then plus the loan that actually gets the project off the ground. And then as a refundable, reimbursable type of grant, that would be able to pay off the loan that's in place. That's the idea.
Got it.
Actually, that's a technically, sorry, not to nerd out for a second, but like financially, if you, the thought process that you could service the note, right? Did they give you what that loan term is already and over what period of time?
They did not, but he will.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's already been, he's already counted as an asset if it's an award.
And if that million is sitting, that's obvious, that's cash donation, so that's sitting in an account right now?
Now, some of it's been spent already to try to get it off the ground. We purchased some equipment because we had already broken ground back in March. So we actually own some assets as well. That's part of that.
What's the land value worth?
Well, when it was purchased, it was 200 grand. I think the land value is what the market says. And, I don't know exactly. But think it's going for like 400 grand an acre right now in Palm Shores. On US one.
Anyone else have questions?
I have a question. The
Online.
tournaments you mentioned, are you creating new tournaments that would attract people, or are you taking existing tournaments and just moving them here?
Oh,
How
no,
does
these are new tournaments. Who is that? Was that Pam?
Pamela.
Pamela. Yeah, these are new tournaments. They're new swim meets. They don't exist. And there's actually a lack of swim meets coming out of the Central Florida area. We're constantly having to go out of town to do these. And yeah.
And they attract teams from all over the state or outside of the state as well?
Yeah, you'll attract out of the state maybe like twice a year. It depends on each person's schedule, but usually you get like of the teams, if there's 10 teams that show up, there'll be 1 or 2 from out of state, 5 from out of county, and then 5 from in county. I know that doesn't add up, right? But it's somewhere along those lines. It's like 5 in county, 5 out of county, and then you always get 1 or 2 from like Puerto Rico, or maybe you get one from New York or some other Caribbean island. We're always looking for something to do over here.
Sounds like you need to talk to the guy from Canada. We bring them.
Yeah, yeah, right.
I'll just ask one question. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the whole land lease
Yeah.
arrangement. I'm trying to figure out a question that get me feel more comfortable about the arrangement. So you at least partly own the property,
Yeah,
but you would arrange some long-term lease with the foundation?
that's right.
Like
Oh,
what kind of terms are, and it gets a little funny because you're also, involved with the board of the foundation. So
Right.
It gets to be a little,
Right. The conflict of interest
Yeah.
idea starts floating around.
I'm just,
Yeah, no, I
get what you're doing. I'm just trying
don't,
to,
I
my
would
mind trying to
donate
figure
the
out.
land.
Yeah,
I would donate the land, but, I went through the legal counsel and all I did was I just said, is this something that's done? And he said, oh, yes, it happens. Probably not as often, but yeah, this is something, we have an agreement. It's out, it's like a ground lease, it's out for so many years. And I don't own any of the property, any of the improvements. That's the Swim Melbourne Foundation. And, yeah, I don't know, that's out of my realm. Last Mark.
Is the foundation currently paying rent?
The foundation is not paying rent today.
When does that kick in?
Well, whenever there's any type of construction actually ongoing on site.
And I think
So
Doug.
the agreement hasn't actually been signed yet.
Okay.
It's sitting just right next to the permit, ready to be signed.
And I think Doug was alluding to this, but I'm not sure I heard the answer. I saw what in the expenses, I saw that it is proposed at 32,000 annually. What is the term of that, and are there annual increases?
There are annual
You just
increases.
see it go up.
Okay, I missed that.
Yeah,
part.
every year it went up.
Okay, and
And
then
what was the second part of the question?
what's the term? How long?
Well, we were gonna leave it out for like 7 years or 10 years. It all depended on our next foundation meeting. I was gonna sort of go back with all these questions and, have a meeting and figure out, exactly what it is. But yeah, the payment, we pretty much agreed on that. That covers, the LLC isn't trying to be a profitable LLC. It's just trying to pay its property taxes and pay insurance and just sort of come out as a wash. The idea is a wash. It's the ground lease. It happens a lot on school properties. That's where it happens a lot. They'll lease the land out, and they're not trying to profit from that land that it's not actually donated, they're still owning it.
Right. So what I just heard was potentially 7 years. The proposed economic impact is upwards of 20 years
Yes.
in the packet. So those two don't, it's not coterminous.
Yeah,
And so in theory, if I'm thinking about this in 7 years, there could be a recapture. And then
Right.
it becomes a private, facility.
right,
That doesn't sit too well with a $3 million ask,
yeah.
of government money, basically.
Well, it hasn't been signed yet, so that would be something that would have to be talked about.
Anyone else have any questions? Comments, concerns? Thoughts?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, the next capital facility grant application presentation. Oh, actually, before there was, but real quick, I apologize. There was no more comments from online. Anyone online? We didn't hear anything. I saw Pamela unmute, so I didn't know. Okay, we'll move forward. The next capital facilities grant application presentation is the Titusville Playhouse expansion for their capital project, and Steve Heron.
I got it.
Got it.
I watched him.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for letting us come in. Good afternoon and present to you. My name is Stephen Heron. I'm the executive and artistic director at the Titusville Playhouse. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the Titusville Playhouse and a little bit of the history. We are a community theater. We have 2 venues. Currently, we have a 272 seat main stage theater, and we have a 300 seat stage 2 theater that we just erected and we're opened last season. And that was a $1.4 million build at that new venue. Short 12 years ago, we have come a long way in our reputation, production quality, and our significance in Brevard County. A little over 12 years ago, the theater hired me. Actually, Doug Lebo hired me right there. Hired me as the executive, it was the general manager back then was the name. And we had 1 employee, which is myself, and a part-time office manager. And this year we have 18, before I go there, we had a whopping operating budget of $189,000. This year, 12 years later, we have 18 full-time employees, 4 part-time employees, and an operating budget of a little over $2 million. So we're very proud of that. And we've worked hard, and the people all across the county have worked to help us grow and grow and grow. In 2023, we welcomed 44,504 patrons through the door. Just for your knowledge, 27% of them came from outside of Brevard County. Also, as a fun fact, there was a person or an audience member from every single state and several countries this next year, which was really cool. We are a multi-year winner of Central Florida's favorite local theater by Broadway World. And we've grown, we've got a growing reputation for quality and excellence, not only regionally, but across the United States. We're gonna, in just a couple of weeks on the 26th, we open our 60th season. Tootsie. But I want to bring attention to What a Wonderful World, which is a new holiday musical. We were approached by New York producers Lively McCabe and Musical Theater International, which is a licensing company, as an incubator and debut theater. They contracted us, asked us to work with them, and for the next 4 to 5 years, we're going to be debuting a new show for them every single year. And what's really cool about this is that we will debut it, and then the following years, they will be able to be seen across the country, across the world, whoever wants to license those plays. Not only that, as a feather to our hat and something to come back to Brevard for years to come, every single theater that produces that show has to list on the credits page that it was debuted and developed by the Titusville Playhouse in Titusville, Florida, which will last for decades and decades, long before I leave this, long after I leave this world. So, saying all that, you know a little bit about the Titusville Playhouse. I want to turn over the rest of the presentation to Martha Getke, who is our development director. Thank you. Thank you. I'll stand over here. All right. She's not gonna buy it.
So I want to thank you all, many familiar faces on this committee, and I want to start again reiterating what Stephen said and thank Lebo, because it really was he was the beginning fuel that invested a lot of time in this idea and is now replicating and doing all wonderful work down in the south part of the county. But it really was a credit to his vision and his leadership at the very beginning of this process that that put us on the pathway to where we are today. So So why invest in the Titusville Playhouse? And why invest in a cultural asset? So I'm going to talk a lot about studies and a lot about information when I show you the timeline and everything, but I just want to say that Stephen touched on the reputation of the theater. He mentioned that we have attendees from over all 50 states, different countries annually. We have a season ticket patron who literally lives in Georgia, but they're an annual season ticket holder of the Titusville Playhouse, and they come down for every show. That is how much they love and enjoy the production quality at the Titusville Playhouse. Currently, we are a very strong regional draw, and Stephen talked about those numbers. 12,000 plus people come from outside of Brevard County to the area. This project that we're doing expands that exponentially by creating a bigger venue, creating the opportunity, creating more capacity in the market. It allows us to draw larger shows, and it allows us to draw a larger audience. When he didn't talk about season ticket holders, but you know, we have a growing, we are all recovering from COVID, but we are literally financially, and we are back to pre-COVID numbers in terms of our season ticket holders. And I can tell you that we don't do a lot of last minute buys in the last week to 2 weeks. If somebody's making an impulse decision, they want to go see a show, it's really hard sometimes for them to get a really good seat at the Titusville Playhouse because we're so full in our current venue. And so this would allow us to increase the capacity for that spontaneous demand where they're adding it on to their tour, they go, oh, let's go to the theater before we go get on our cruise ship, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a big concept for us. I dropped it. There we go. So timeline. The thing I really wanted to focus on with this is that this is not an overnight idea. This didn't start a year ago. This really started in 2021, and it started long before 2021, but that's when the real timeline in my mind begins, because we partnered with Theater Projects, who is the consulting firm that worked with Dr. Phillips, and began the journey to validate and certify that the community was ready, that the market was ready, and that the fundraising was available for us to be able to do this. And so when you see that application, I've got a stack about this tall of all the printed pages of all of the studies that are behind this. So we did an economic impact and market feasibility study to say, will the community support it? We did a fundraising feasibility study. We've got concept renderings that you've already seen in your packet, but we'll see again. We've just completed a cost validation that says, what can you build this for? And is it within your range? And so that's, all of that stuff has been done up to this point, and I'm on the cusp of starting that capital campaign to make it a reality. And it is a roughly 5-year timeline. So our project Gantt chart shows opening third and fourth quarter of 2030. So that's where we are. People say, oh, is this a 15-year plan? No, this is a 5-year. Here's the goal, $75 million. Again, we did the project cost validation for us to be able to certify that we can do what we want to do for the costs that we've set out, or for the goal that we've set out. What does that involve? The new facility is coming in right at $70 million. Talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. The existing infrastructure improvements. Stephen mentioned that we just invested $1.4 million in our stage 2 venue. Emma, our flagship theater, our main stage historic theater, will not go away in this model, but Emma has been around for a lot of years, and the last renovation under Doug's leadership, it's time to do a little bit of a facelift again. Plus, we envision Emma as being the home for our growing education program. And in doing that, we want to add technology and improve technology and get the latest equipment so that our students and our future workforce folks have the ability to be able to learn and train and utilize those kinds of things as well. And then the endowment fund. When you open a 550 seat theater, and you currently got a budget that runs a 272 seat theater, there's some growing pains. And so the idea of establishing this endowment fund as part of our fundraising goal is really to soften that transition between being a two facility operation to a 3 facility operation, and going from 500 plus seats to over 1,000 seats within the thing. And it's also donor confidence and funder confidence that not only are we looking at this project itself, but we're also establishing the legacy fund, a legacy fund for the future to ensure sustainability of the idea and the project. If you ask about matching dollars, we do have a capital facilities account and capital facilities fund, and are constantly working with state and local and donors and all those kinds of things. That's what helped us get that $1.4 million stage 2 project done. And then as part of our fundraising feasibility study, going out to our members and doing a lot of one-on-ones with them, the total that they came back to us with those verbal commitments as they were talking one-on-one with them and saying, where do you, do you consider investing and at what level in the range? Those total over $15 million. Beginning of a campaign, those are not signed agreements, but we do have a track record of having completed capital improvements. And then we have the donor and member confidence to be able to get this done. And then we believe very highly, high level of confidence that they're willing to put their money where their mouth is on this. We just haven't asked them to sign the agreement because we haven't been ready for that. The other thing I will mention with this is, it just went on my head, never mind. And our request today from you is $7.5 million. We recognize that it's a reimbursement grant, and we can phase that however you'd like to going forward. Put this slide in there. Frank DeBella is our campaign volunteer. I was absolutely thrilled when we did the fundraising feasibility and the committee sat before him, and he's like, I'd take on this project. Frank has a legacy reputation, not only in this community, but across the state and in the aerospace industry. And it is a huge opportunity for us, I think, to expand our circle of influence, to expand even what we're thinking and how we're looking at capitalizing on this opportunity by working with a visionary man like Frank DeBella. So I just got the drawing from the company, the consultants, and I was hoping I could slide it in, but I didn't. So you're just gonna have to look at my ugly representation here. So this is the existing M Parish Theater right here. This would be the site of the new build. All of the stuff that's in turquoise is what the Titusville Playhouse owns. Okay, so we currently own just under 3 acres. Okay, over here is where stage 2 sits, right here. This right here is actually artist housing, our artist and intern housing. It is a former hotel turned apartments. Now it is where our interns live year round. It also it houses some of our artists, but primarily it's used as intern housing. And it allows them to spend the year learning the business after they come out of college. This is our costume shop. Shops and warehouses are over here. And this all is currently undeveloped. There's building there, we're using it for storage, but is not right now a part of our phase 1 project expansion. So this is what the facility, how it would sit. We own both of these buildings. We own all of this land. I'll talk a little bit about the city in a second, but that's where that 550 seat, it says 500, but it's 550 seat Proscenium Theater would sit right next to our historic theater. So there is an artist rendering done by our architects. You notice that this comes out over Julia Street. This is the existing Emma Parish. This becomes, this is the theater. This is the lobby, has a rooftop deck, bar, observation area. We've been up in a bucket this high and you can see all the launch pads. So that's great. And then this is back of house area, which I will admit has shrunk a little bit in our cost analysis and in our needs analysis but the render, we were gonna spend money to change the rendering just for backup house changes. This is a street view. So if you were looking from Julia Street in the center of US 1, then this is the view that you would see. We've been talking with the city of Titusville. First of all, they have a CRA master plan for their downtown area, and they identified the area surrounding the theater as a arts and entertainment district, specifically because of this anchor project, but they believe very confidently that it will spur additional growth and additional investment once we get there. When we talked about this idea, and the architect came to us and he put a lot of blocks out, and he said, if I put it like this, I don't have enough room on the backside, but if I do this, it solves a few things. Before I talk about that, I just want to say that's a really iconic wow view for the city of Titusville and downtown. And so the city has agreed, and we're in the beginning negotiations of a development agreement where they're fully comfortable with us going out and over the street. And actually they are interested in an agreement for us to develop that into more of a festival corridor for the downtown. As many of you may know, US 1 runs through downtown Titusville and has made it hard to do events and activities. This creates an east-west axis for downtown Titusville that changes the dynamic. So here's where I want to talk about why over the road. If you look at this, this is going all the way back. Our land doesn't go this far, so we'd have to give up back of house support. The other thing that it does is it requires us to dip into the water table and reinforce. We're going down below sea level. So now we've got to really be careful about our water intrusion and protecting against that. So it adds significantly to the construction cost. You pick it up and you make the ground really ground zero level, then you don't have those same problems, but it requires us to bring it out over the road to get everything in there that we want to get. But it also creates an event space, and it creates that iconic wow factor. So it's a multi pronged reason for us to do that. DPI ticket sales, Stephen mentioned 44,504 guests in 2023, 24. 12,000 of those were out of town visitors. We track zip codes on their purchase. So when they enter their home zip code, that's where those figures are coming from. But we are looking to add, it's really hard to capture someone to give you additional information, and Stephen has agreed to allow us to do an exit survey and give people the option of providing additional data to us about, did they stay overnight? Did they go to dinner? Did they drive here? Blah, 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 all those kinds of things. So 4 questions, I promise, but just a new way for us to have economic data for folks. But you can see the growth in ticket sales that's projected, and what that would mean in terms of out-of-towners if we stay on that same trajectory. So this is just based on if 27+% of our current audience is out of town, that's what this is all projected on. Room night calculation, again, this was done by our third-party consultants working with Theater Projects and Keen Independent Research. You'll get all of that information as part of the application. But basically, these numbers are calculated that one person doesn't typically come to the theater by themselves. They come in a pair. So it's sort of counted for 2 people potentially staying overnight in the area. So you can see that data as it goes out. And that is the conclusion of my formal presentation, and I look forward to answering any questions that the group may have. With Stephen, yes. So fire away.
So many questions.
Say so many questions.
Okay.
Starting with working backwards on the room night slide, when you present your full application, are they going to build out the full economic impact, because right now we're just talking about room revenue, but.
We do have a
Okay, good.
it's a ton of information and I just like.
Yeah.
How many charts do you guys really want to look at that where the content is this big before you have the opportunity to study the full packet?
In terms of both the city of Titusville and embeds the, economic zone, have you had conversations with them about them contributing to the 75 million, and
Yes.
what does that look like? What are they saying at this point?
Fundraising stack. I did not show that as part of the slide. It'll be again in your presentations, or in the applications, but, we feel confident. We're seeking about at least 10 million from that part of the funding stack. We've talked to the city of Titusville. They do not contribute financially to any outside organizations or any outside projects like this. They do not provide funding really to anything. They don't do like event funding. They don't do any of those kinds of things. The Titusville Playhouse operates without receiving any annual funding from the city of Titusville, unlike many of the other theaters, not just in Central Florida, or not just in Brevard County, but across Central Florida and across the industry. So the city of Titusville has said, we love this. We're going to develop an arts and entertainment district. We want to work with you on a pedestrian corridor. That's going to require some infrastructure, going to require some moving some stuff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we want to be a partner in that, but we cannot contribute to the project overall, that fundraising goal.
But there'll be an infrastructural component that's also contributing.
Correct. And this embeds, we have had preliminary meetings with them, and the advisement has been, as we look to, because when you start to look at the lots, it takes you out into some of those easements. And so it is going to require some utility relocation and those kinds of things. And we are approaching embeds for all of the costs of that utility relocation and infrastructure kind of thing, and have gotten very really positive response from them about participating in that manner.
You smiled. That was good.
Next question. Somebody's got it. Come on, don't be afraid.
Of the total, of the new facility, the 70 million that you're looking at, how much of that is debt financing?
Oh. You're talking about debt that, how much is new build and how much is debt that we own? I mean, debt that we only have, we have less than $2 million worth of debt currently.
Okay, so that new facility, which we're gonna assume for conversation purposes in the audience, that's the building.
Right.
Correct, yes, sir.
So that 70 million that you're raising, that I assume is going to be all equity?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, why?
The way that our consultants have kind of arranged it for us, and what we're going to this new, I've never built a theater before. So
Do you know what Dr. Phillips was? That was like 110, I want to say.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
it ended up with the Stuyvesant it's over 2 now.
That's what I thought.
Right.
I
Yeah,
thought it went way
because
over budget.
the consultants we hired, which we just didn't hire because they were Dr. Phillips, we actually interviewed, we got 12 across the nation that we interviewed, and then we flew our top 3 in and interviewed them back in 2021. And then we had them watch a show, and they spent 4 days with us. And then we hired theater projects because we felt they would best fit our needs. And they just happened to be Dr. Phillips's theater consultants as well. And that was really not the reason. It was just a gut feeling. Doug can tell you, I do a lot of gut stuff. By my gut, and we hired theater projects because they brought in 7 people. They had every category covered of new building, capital, not even just the infrastructure. But then they were able to introduce us to architects that have been doing a lot of, what is it when they don't get paid?
Pro bono.
Pro bono, thank you. They've been doing a lot of pro bono work, the concept art, all pro bono by the architect that actually is the architect for Dr. Phillips, because they believe in the project and they love the Titusville Playhouse so I hope that answers your question.
A little bit. Is anyone, I just want to open up for anyone online. Pamela, Tom, anyone else?
I'm good, thank you.
No questions at this time. I'll say that it's a pretty ambitious project for Titusville.
You know, I will say that, I could agree with you, in part, but I left my 24 years of nonprofit work to join this team because I want to see this to completion. So, I think that it might be an ambitious project for the city of Titusville, but I'm not scared that it's an ambitious project for the Titusville Playhouse.
No, obviously you've alluded to the fact that the city of Titusville isn't going to contribute. I'm just questioning the size and complexity for the area of Titusville. Not that it isn't a beautiful project, but it's certainly a pretty grandiose expansion.
Definitely
Anyway,
is.
nice project.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a transformational type of project when you start talking about 70 million, $75 million, I mean, it's something, bigger than a breadbasket, right? I mean, and so what I wonder is the city of Titusville thinking, do they have the thought process that they're thinking of a master plan that is something bigger than what Titusville currently as it exists today is? Because I don't see that, or I haven't seen that in anything yet, but if they have some master plan where this fits into that master plan, that could be pretty amazing. But I just don't know that they've gone to that length yet.
I don't either. I don't know that they have either, although I would say that establishing early on in our process, that foundational idea of a carve-out district for arts and entertainment was a big win for us. But the other thing that the city of Titusville has talked about is that as demand grows, they then come to the table with the planning and the implementation of additional parking and some of those kinds of things. Because this plan does not include any parking facilities on our property. But we've also done a parking study and we know that the city's immediate adjacent parking is never more than 45% capacity at any time. And so we've talked about how do we manage that early on? What do we do? What does that look like? And then how does that work with the city? So we have broached those kinds of subjects and that kind of information. But in terms of overall transformational vision, we may be on the leading edge of that.
Yeah, maybe the bleeding edge. So the other thing for the committee's sake to hear is, the largest project that we have contributed to from a capital facilities perspective is the aquarium. Aquarium's comparatively speaking, the aquarium's a $100 million facility. They are estimating they will generate about 500,000 visitors a year, mostly from out of county. Most of those people will not be from Brevard. So we being this group, the TDC, and then ultimately the Board of County Commissioners has approved 15 million for them. So this ask is about half of that, but significantly different in terms of the mix of visitation and all of that. So just for scaling scope, really. The other issue that I was going to talk to the committee about, and probably as good a time as any to just bring up, is what the board has approved for this coming fiscal year, which begins October 1st, is 1.7 million out of this budget. That will tap this budget. There will be no more existing funds in the capital fund until the next fiscal year happens, where there will be then new revenue being generated. But that 1.7 million it sits in the fund today. It's money that's been in the fund that's accumulated, but that will spend that account down to zero. And then we'll start over again the following year. The challenges in future years and we'll talk about this at the next committee meeting, and I'll bring a 10-year projection, but the challenges are that in the next 4 years, there's about $3 million that's already spent, that's already accounted for. Meaning we have not collected one TDT dime in future years yet, but there's already almost $3 million a year being spent for the next 4 to 5 years, which what that will mean is that the fund will generate about 3.3 to 3.5 million a year. So that'll mean there's only about $300,000 to $500,000 that'll be generated new money every year. So we're going to be entering a period for the next 3 to 5 years of really challenging finances in this bucket. So the 1.7 million, the pressure is on you guys and the TDC, and then ultimately the board of what are the projects that you want to spend that on, because that really gets you sort of to zero, and then we're going to kind of have to start over for a few years until we start building that fund back up. So just sharing that for perspective.
If I didn't ask, I couldn't hear yes, so. I gotta.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. No, I'm just trying to give information for the committee's sake, really, not, not being critical.
Didn't really want to come back.
Is that, this is really, we've done a lot in it already with the early renovations and complete rehabilitation of the theater under Stephen and Doug's leadership. And now we continue to invest. We own all the property. We've been able to do that in our current business model with our current finances. That's all ours outright. We're running a very successful theater operation. We've got 90% occupancy, average occupancy in our seats. And we're space constrained. So if we don't think big, but this is a legacy project that you won't see again next, 5 years from now. Hopefully you'll see it because we get the invitation. I won't say hopefully. We're going to see it because we're going to get the invitation to the to the grand opening is why you're going to see it. But we never come before this body and ask for funds. We do contribute or participate in and receive cultural funding for our general operations every year. But we've never asked. So, and we don't intend to be back except to say thank you.
So just to give a little preface here, I'm a big supporting fan of the arts, and I grew up here, right? I was in plays, the Henniger Center when I was a kid, with my parents and all sorts of stuff. So I'm a big fan of it. But for the sake of a committee's perspective, it is very audacious at 75 million. Okay. So the question that I would have is, how did you come up to the number of asking for 7.5 million? Was that the consultants consulting with you, saying what to do? How did you put together that number?
It's 10% of the project is the short answer.
Okay.
It places 90% of the burden on the market. On our ability to raise funds. So we're not asking you for a huge percentage of the total, which is not a bad thing. It's just that's the reason behind it is we want you to be an investor, but we don't necessarily feel like you have to invest in us halfway or 2/3 of the way or any of those kinds of things. So, that's one reason. It is a magnitude that project that is ginormous. So the number is going to be a lot bigger. It would be really, insignificant, I don't need, that's probably not the right word, for us to come and ask you for $100,000 for $75 million project.
Sure.
So,
So I understand. So of that 70 million, okay, just hypothetically speaking, assuming the committee had money, right? Over the period of time to your grand opening in 2030, the use of capital over that period of time, you're starting your capital campaign. Is this your first start at the capital campaign, or do you already have committed funds from other investment groups?
we do not have committed funds from other investment groups in the bank.
Yet.
Yet.
But you are in active
We are in
conversations.
active conversations, and we also have been laying the groundwork since I came on board and before, with those entities. You know, we do have $1 million donor who has just helped us establish sort of that foundation endowment idea. And so those things are in play. But capital campaign is beginning, and you guys are the first official ask.
And you may know that capital campaigns go into a silent phase until you reach, what is it, 60%? And so that's what we're really entering into. And this is one of our first asks because we'll be in the public facing side next year at this time. So we just started with you guys.
Ending up closing the gap.
Yeah.
But have you identified any investment banks that you're working with yet?
We have not. We do have relationships with
Both TD.
TD and some of the others in terms of lines of credit and those kinds of things that have helped us do some of the things that we've done. One of the additional benefits of having someone like Frank DeBello be our lead campaign volunteer is that he is very invested in participatory in the venture capital market and a lot of different markets, and has those contacts and is indicated he's very comfortable utilizing them and is making phone calls kind of as we speak to bring some of those partners on board.
Great. Any more questions? I just want to recognize anyone online. Okay, no questions. Any further questions? All right, thank you.
You guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you're gonna overview the schedule?
Yeah.
All right, so the final order of business is we're gonna review the remaining 2024 capital facilities committee schedule, Jeff.
Okay, it's on the back last page of your packet. So today, obviously, is the presentations. So your applications are due this Monday, July 15th, close of business at 5 o'clock. I just asked, I talked with Becky beforehand. She's got all her attachments labeled, very well organized and labeled. So I would ask you, if you could try to match the checklist I have and submit that in as well. There's an applicant checklist and kind of match your file names to, try to make it as easy as possible for the committee. And so then we're looking at July 22nd. We're going to review them internally, the applications and the information. We're looking to get the information out to you guys on July 22nd, the committee for review and scoring. So in the guidelines is the score sheet for the committee. I just want you guys, when you do your score sheet, make sure you sign and date it and then do a very clean PDF for me so it's legible. Just make sure everything adds up and such when you submit your score sheet for each one. So those are due on August 5th, your completed score sheets. The next meeting we have is August 15th, and we'll review the scoring. We'll roll up the scores for you guys, and we'll have that all ready for you. And have packets for you with all the completed score sheets. And we'll do our recommendations there. Full, partial, none, you have that option. On the score sheet, technically per the guidelines, 75% is required for an award on the score sheet. But we have done things in the past where people with lower scores than 75 have gotten a factored amount. So you have options there. August 28th is the approval of the TDC, assuming you guys make a recommendation to submit it to the TDC, then the TDC would recommend or deny the committee's suggestions. And then September 17th, if the TDC approves, then it would go to the Board of County Commissioners on September 17th. And then after, if the board approves, then there's a contracting process. And technically your projects begin on October 1st or whenever the contract is signed. And then you have 6 years to complete the contract, complete the project, 3 years for groundbreaking. So does anybody have any questions? That's all I have.
Good. All right, there any further questions, anything from the committee? Nope, I think with that.
I'd like to,
Oh, sorry, Tom.
yeah, before we close it out, I'd just like to just remind the committee members when you're reviewing these packets to carefully focus. We do weight it, I think, at 15 points out of 100, but to really look at this through the lens of tourist development. Remind ourselves that we sit on the Tourist Development Council and that we're spending funds in these various buckets to promote tourism. It's always hard to differentiate between what are good projects because there's so many good projects and so many good causes, and those that should be supported with tourist development dollars. It's just a gentle reminder. And then secondly, I'd like to ask Peter, you've shown us in the past a table that generally scored project funding relative to projected tourism impact. You summarized that for us. I think it probably was in the last year. If you could dig that up, Peter, and potentially share it with the committee, review that data and share it with the committee so that we have some basis for comparing these projects. And it really comes down to dollars spent. It's only one criteria, but dollars spent by the TDC on a project relative to projected overnight spend.
I'll have to look into that, Tom. I'm not sure I know that off the top of my head. I do have a sheet that shows all of the funded capital projects over the years and how much we put in those, and I'll send that out. But I'm not sure about the latter part of what you were asking with the visitor spending. I'm not sure I have that. I may be confusing my grants with events grants. I'll dig into my notes. Yeah, that might be more of an events thing. Yeah, that's probably more of an events thing. Yeah. But I will. When we look at it globally. Yeah, it's difficult when you look from marketing to special events grants to capital. Sometimes we belabor the points of giving $5,000 to events that bring in 20,000 out-of-state visitors. Right. And then in a following capital facilities meeting, consider giving millions of dollars to an organization that brings in the same numbers on an annual basis. So we got to keep that in mind. Every single dollar that the TDT brings in should be promoting tourism on a relative basis. That's my 2 cents.
Duly noted. All right, any more comments? Nope. With that, I motion that we adjourn. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Motion, and then it's Robert moving to order, right? Yeah. And then you have to have a second.
Yeah.
But then you have to have
Discussion.
then the discussion.
Yeah.
And then you can.
Yeah.